friends. So I wanted to talk just for a quick couple of minutes about progressive overload, what it is, and then also how you can implement it at home. I talk about it a lot and I see a lot of people talking about it because it really is like the main thing you should be focusing on when it comes to your lifts in the gym to help you reach your goals. So basically, it's exactly what it sounds like, progressive overload. So it's progressing, it's doing more over time. So basically, the main way you're gonna see this, or the simplest way I should say you're gonna see this in the gym, is just adding more weight. So, if one day you can deadlift 100 pounds and then the next week you're deadlifting 110 pounds, like that's progressive overload. So continuing to just do more over time is all that really means. And so that's really what's gonna keep challenging your muscles and keep changing your body. So I want to talk about some of the other ways that you see it, and then how you can use it even if you're working out at home, because I know a lot of people are either back in lockdown or just choosing not to go to the gym right now, or just ever and prefer home workouts. So you can still use this concept at home, just differently if you don't have weights. So like I said, just adding more weight is like the simplest or like the most common, way you're going to see. But beyond that, the next sort of simplest I would say is adding more reps. So same thing, if you can do 10, reps at a set weight, and then the next week you're doing 11 or 12 at the same weight. So you've now progressed, you've moved up. You can obviously do more reps with no weight. So that's one thing you can do at home, which is good for certain exercises that are more difficult, like push-ups. If you can only do 5 push-ups, and then you can do 6, and then you can do 7. It's really a good option for those. But for other exercises, like maybe, air squats, you probably can do quite a few of those before you're really reaching failure. So you might not want to sit there and do 50 air squats. So you just have to decide, what you're going to be using on which exercise. Other options that I like for at home, I would say doing more difficult variations. So like I just said with the squats, you don't want to maybe sit there doing 50 or 100 if you're capable of it. So doing more unilateral work, let me back up here. So doing single leg squats, maybe onto a chair, since I have one, and just using one leg. So then you can work on doing more reps of that exercise, the more difficult variation of an exercise, as opposed to having to do, 101 squats. So that's a good option. Another thing that you can do is increase your time under tension. So you can add pauses or holds or pulses. So again, just because I'm talking about squats here, but you can apply this to pretty much any exercise you're doing. So you can add a hold at the bottom of your squat, and again, you can work on, okay, today I can only hold it for 5 seconds, but maybe I can do it for 6 next time. That kind of thing, or little pulses at the bottom. So again, you're just really just making that exercise more challenging so that you can reach failure sooner. But yeah, so then you can just be tracking that and keeping track of it week after week, and just trying to get yourself to be able to reach and do more. Another option is to increase your range of motion. So for example, with push-ups, I'm gonna elevate my feet, and I'll just do it just to show you guys. With your feet elevated here, push up. When you're adding a deficit, or if you're trying to increase your range of motion, you're using a deficit, you need to make sure that you're actually utilizing that deficit. If it's there and you're not actually going past the deficit you created, it's essentially the same as doing it on the floor, which there's nothing wrong with that. You just don't need the deficit at that point. So for example, let's say I'm lunging here. If I'm gonna elevate my foot to create a deficit, if I'm only coming to where the bench is, this is the same as doing a lunge on the floor essentially. I need to utilize the deficit, so that means I need to drop my back knee below the bench. So I'm coming down and having the floor. Now I'm getting a deeper range of motion than I would if my front foot were on the ground. if that makes sense. So yeah, that's increasing your range of motion is another thing you can do at home. With push-ups, you can keep using a bigger step, elevating your feet more, or same thing with deficit lunge, elevating it maybe a little bit higher. And then playing around with putting a lot of those things together. So like I said, with choosing a harder variation, you're then gonna want to increase your reps on that variation, or adding a deficit. Okay, well now I can add a deficit and then see, can I do more reps, with this deficit next time? So it's not always gonna be just, pick one of these things and that's all you're gonna focus on. A lot of times they're gonna come together, and you'll be using a bunch of different ones. So yeah, like I said, I see it a lot. I know I talk about it a lot because that's, in my training, I talk a lot about PRs or hitting a new weight, which is something I get really excited about. But basically what I'm doing in the gym is making sure that I'm really utilizing progressive overload, pushing myself to do more weight, do more reps at the same weight, and all different kinds of things all coming together. But I know it can be tricky at home with just body weight exercises to figure out how you're going to incorporate that. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I personally don't have weights at home. Yeah, I should say, because I always say I want to get them. But I don't have any. I have one kettlebell. So I'm always trying to figure out other things I can use as weight, but also just how to make body weight exercises more difficult and make sure that I'm actually, still working towards my goals and they're actually benefiting me and my body, rather than just cardio or just going through the motion. You want to make sure you actually are still challenging yourself and still incorporating the things that you need to be incorporating, such as progressive overload. So yeah, I hope that helps. If you weren't sure what it was, helps you understand more about what it is and how to apply it to your training. And then also hopefully you got some good ideas on how you can use it at home. Again, you can figure out how you're going to apply each of those, more than one of those, to essentially any body weight exercise that you're looking at doing. So yeah, thanks for watching.